There are things in your life that you didn't understand when they happened, moments that felt unfair, situations that didn't make sense, pain that felt unnecessary. And in those moments, you questioned everything. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Why does it feel like nothing is working? But what you couldn't see back then was what those moments were doing to you. They were shaping you, not in a comfortable way, not in an easy way, but in a necessary way. Because sometimes, the life you want requires a version of you that doesn't exist yet, a stronger version, a more patient version, a version that has learned certain lessons. And those lessons, they don't come from comfort. They come from experience, from challenges, from setbacks, from moments that push you beyond what you thought you could handle. And even though it didn't feel like it at the time, you were growing. You were becoming someone new, someone more aware, someone more resilient, someone more capable of handling what's ahead. But growth like that is quiet. It doesn't always show immediate results. It doesn't always feel rewarding. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck, like nothing is changing, like you're putting in effort, but not seeing anything in return. And that's the hardest part, because you begin to doubt. You begin to wonder if it's even worth it, if anything is actually happening. But something is happening. Every day you don't quit. Every time you choose to keep going. Every moment you decide to stand back up. You are building something. Something real. Something strong. Something that will not break easily. And that kind of strength, it cannot be rushed. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes going through things that you wish you didn't have to go through. But one day, you will look back, and you will understand. You will see how every difficult moment prepared you for something greater. How every delay protected you from something that wasn't right. How every setback redirected you toward something better. And in that moment, everything will make sense. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough for you to realize you didn't go through all of that for nothing. You went through it to become who you are today. And who you are today is not the same person you used to be. You are stronger now, more aware, more capable. You see things differently. You handle things differently. You think differently because you've learned through experience, through growth, through moments that forced you to become better. And now, you are standing at a new point in your life, a point where things may still not be perfect, but you are ready, ready to move forward, ready to take the next step, ready to trust yourself again. And that matters, because everything you've been through has brought you here, to this version of yourself, a version that is more prepared than you realize. So don't question your journey. Don't regret your past. Don't wish things had been easier, because if they were, you would not be this strong. You would not be this aware. You would not be this ready. So trust it. Trust everything you've been through, even the parts that didn't make sense, even the moments that hurt, because they all had a role. They all contributed to who you are becoming. And who you are becoming is someone who can handle more, someone who can go further, someone who can build something meaningful. So keep going, even if it feels slow, even if it feels uncertain, because you are not where you used to be. You've grown, and that growth is leading you somewhere, somewhere better, somewhere more aligned, somewhere that matches the person you are becoming. So don't stop now. Not after everything you've overcome. Keep moving forward. Because this is not the end of your story. This is the part where everything begins to change. There may still be moments where you feel uncertain, Moments where doubt quietly returns. Moments where you question if things will really change. And that's normal, because growth doesn't mean you never feel doubt again. It means you don't let it stop you anymore. You feel it, but you keep going. You acknowledge it, but you don't let it control your direction, because something inside you knows you didn't come this far just to stay where you are. You didn't go through all those struggles just to stop now. There is something ahead of you, something that matches the effort you've put in, the patience you've shown, the strength you've built. And even if you can't fully see it yet, you can feel it. A shift, a quiet sense that things are changing, that something is about to move, that the phase you've been in is not permanent, because it's not. Nothing stays the same forever. Not the struggles, not the confusion, not the waiting. Everything moves. Everything evolves. And right now, you are in that movement. You are transitioning from one version of your life to another, from who you used to be to who you are becoming. And transitions, they are uncomfortable because they require letting go of old habits, old ways of thinking, old versions of yourself that no longer fit who you are becoming. And that's not easy, because even when something is no longer right, it can still feel familiar. And letting go of familiarity takes courage. But that's exactly what you are doing. You are choosing growth over comfort. You are choosing change over staying the same. And that choice, it will change your life. Not instantly, but gradually, in ways you will start to notice. In how you think, in how you react, in what you accept, and what you no longer tolerate. Because you are becoming more aware, more intentional, more aligned with what truly matters. And that alignment, it creates clarity. Clarity about your path. Clarity about your priorities. Clarity about the direction you need to move in. And once you have that clarity, you don't feel as lost anymore. You don't feel as uncertain. Because even if you don't know everything, you know enough. Enough to take the next step. And that's all you need. Not the full plan. Not every answer. Just the next step. So take it. Even if it feels small. Even if it feels uncertain. Because small steps lead to big changes. Over time. And as you keep moving, you will begin to see it. Progress. Not always in big, obvious ways, but in subtle ones. In your mindset, in your confidence, in your ability to handle things that once overwhelmed you. And that progress, it matters because it shows you that you are moving forward, that you are not stuck, that you are growing, even when it doesn't feel like it. So don't underestimate yourself. Don't overlook how far you've come, because you have come far, further than you give yourself credit for. And now, you are closer than you think, closer to clarity, closer to opportunity, closer to the life you've been working toward. So don't stop. Not here. Not when things are beginning to shift. Stay focused. Stay patient. Stay committed to your growth. Because everything you've been building is starting to come together, piece by piece, moment by moment. And soon, you will see it clearly. Why things happened the way they did. Why the timing was the way it was. Why you had to go through what you did. And when that moment comes, you won't feel confusion anymore. You will feel understanding. And that understanding will give you peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing everything had a purpose. Everything had a reason. Everything was leading you here. So trust this moment. Trust this phase. Trust yourself. Because you are not lost. You are on the edge of something new. And all you have to do now is keep going. And as you keep moving forward, something begins to shift in a way you can't ignore anymore. It's subtle at first. A small opportunity, a different kind of conversation, a moment where things feel easier. Not perfect, but different. And that difference is a sign that your life is starting to respond to the person you've become. Because everything changes. When you change, when your mindset shifts, your choices shift. When your choices shift, your direction shifts. And when your direction shifts, your life begins to follow. That's what's happening right now. Not all at once, but gradually. The energy you carry is different. The way you think is different. The way you handle situations is different. And because of that, you are attracting different outcomes. Not by luck, but by alignment. Because now, you are no longer operating from confusion. You are operating from awareness. You see things more clearly. You recognize what aligns and what doesn't. And that clarity, it protects you from wasting time, from repeating old patterns, from going back to things you've already outgrown. Because you have outgrown them, even if part of you still feels familiar with them, you know they no longer fit. And that knowing is what keeps you moving forward, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it requires letting go. Because you understand, growth requires change, and change requires courage. The courage to walk away from what no longer serves you. The courage to step into something new, even when it's uncertain. The courage to trust yourself, even when you don't have full proof yet. And that courage is what is shaping your future. Because every time you choose growth, you move closer to the life you want. Not instantly, but inevitably. And that's important to understand. Because there will still be moments where things don't go perfectly. Moments where you feel tested again. Moments where you feel challenged again. But now, you respond differently. You don't break the same way. You don't panic the same way. You don't lose yourself the same way. Because you've grown. You've built something within yourself that didn't exist before. A stronger mindset, a deeper understanding, a more stable foundation. And that foundation is what keeps you grounded, no matter what happens around you. So even when life tests you, you remain steady, not because everything is easy, but because you are stronger. And that strength allows you to keep moving forward without constantly stopping, without constantly doubting, without constantly going back. Because you know now, there is nothing behind you that is better than what's ahead. So you keep going, even when it's slow, even when it's unclear, even when it requires patience. Because you trust the direction, you trust the process, you trust the person you are becoming. And that trust is what creates momentum, a steady, unstoppable movement forward. And with that movement, your life begins to open up. Opportunities that once felt out of reach start to feel possible. Situations that once confused you start to make sense. And slowly, you begin to step into a new version of your life. A version where things are more aligned, more intentional, more reflective of who you truly are. And that version is not something you have to chase anymore. It's something you are growing into, day by day, choice by choice, moment by moment. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Don't doubt it. Because what is happening right now is real. It is progress. It is transformation. And it is leading you exactly where you need to be. So keep going. Stay grounded. Stay focused. Stay committed to your growth. Because the life you've been working toward is no longer far away. It's beginning to meet you halfway. And now, If you really pause for a moment and look at yourself honestly, you will see it. You are not the same person anymore. The way you think has changed. The way you react has changed. The things you tolerate have changed. What once felt normal no longer feels right. What once controlled you no longer has the same power. And that's not by accident. That is growth. Real growth. The kind that doesn't happen overnight. The kind that takes time, effort, and experience. Because you had to go through things that forced you to change. You had to face moments that pushed you beyond your comfort zone. You had to deal with situations that made you question everything. And through all of that, you evolved. Not perfectly, but powerfully. And now, you stand at a point in your life where you have a choice. You can go back to old habits, back to old thinking, back to the version of yourself you've already outgrown. Or you can move forward into the unknown, into something new, into the version of yourself you've been becoming. And deep down, you already know the answer, because going back doesn't feel right anymore. It may feel familiar, but it doesn't feel aligned. And that's how you know you've changed, because you are no longer comfortable in the same places that once felt normal. You are no longer satisfied with the same patterns that once defined you. You want more, not just more success, but more meaning, more clarity, more peace, more alignment with who you truly are. And that desire is not random. It is a signal that you are ready to step into something greater, ready to leave behind what no longer serves you, ready to become the person you've been slowly turning into. And yes, that step forward may feel uncomfortable, because growth always is. It asks you to let go. It asks you to trust. It asks you to move forward without knowing everything. But that's where your next level is. Not in comfort, not in staying the same, but in stepping beyond it. So don't hold yourself back now. Not after everything you've been through. Not after all the progress you've made. Don't doubt yourself in this moment. This is not the time to hesitate. This is the time to move. Even if it's just one step. Even if it's small. Because that step changes everything. It shifts your direction. It builds your confidence. It proves to you that you are ready. And once you take that step, the next one becomes easier. And then the next. Until one day, you look back and realize you didn't just think about change. You became it. You didn't just wish for a better life. You built it. You didn't just hope things would improve. You made them improve. Through your choices, through your growth, through your willingness to keep going. And that is something no one can take away from you, because you earned it, every bit of it. So as you move forward from here, remember this: you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to grow, to evolve, to rise into something greater. And everything you've been through was preparing you for this moment. This decision, this step forward. So take it, without fear controlling you, without doubt holding you back, because you are ready, more ready than you realize. And everything ahead of you is waiting for you to believe that. And now, there is nothing left to wait for. No perfect moment, no perfect sign, no perfect version of you. Because the truth is, that moment you've been waiting for is already here, right now, in this decision, in this awareness, in this version of you that has already grown so much. You don't need more time to become ready. You became ready through everything you've been through the struggles, through the delays, through the moments you thought you wouldn't make it. That was your preparation. That was your training. That was life shaping you into someone who can handle what's next. So don't stand still now. Don't go back into doubt. Don't shrink yourself just because the next step feels bigger. You are not the same person who once felt lost and uncertain. You are someone who understands, someone who has seen both sides, the confusion and the clarity, the struggle and the growth. And because of that, you have something powerful, perspective, the ability to see beyond the moment, the ability to stay grounded when things feel uncertain, the ability to keep moving forward, even when everything isn't fully clear. And that ability is what will take you further than anything else. So trust yourself now, not halfway, not with hesitation, but fully. Trust your growth. There will still be moments where things feel uncertain, but now you won't see those moments the same way. You won't see them as signs to stop. You will see them as part of the path, part of the process, part of the journey that is continuing to shape you. And because you understand that, you won't give up. Not easily. Not like before. Because you've already come too far. You've already grown too much. You've already proven to yourself that you can handle more than you once believed. So keep going. Not perfectly, but consistently. Not with fear, but with trust. Not with doubt, but with belief in who you are becoming. Because everything is changing. Not suddenly, but steadily. Not loudly, but deeply. And you are right in the middle of it. Right in the moment where your old life is fading and your new life is beginning. So step into it without hesitation, without looking back, because there is nothing behind you that is meant for your future. Everything you need is in front of you, waiting for you to move. And when you do, when you fully step into this version of yourself, you will realize something powerful. You were never lost. You were being led here, to this moment, to this version of yourself, to this life that is finally beginning to align. And from here, everything changes. And now, after everything you've faced, after every moment that tested you, there's something important you need to understand. This is your turning point, not something far away, not something that will happen one day. This moment, right here, is where things begin to shift, because you are no longer the same person who once felt stuck without direction. You've learned, you've grown, you've seen what doesn't work, and you've started to understand what does. And that awareness, that clarity, is powerful, because now you don't move blindly anymore. You move with intention, even if it's just one small step at a time. And those small steps, they matter more than you think, because they create momentum. They build confidence. They show you that progress is possible, even when it feels slow. So don't underestimate where you are right now. Don't think this phase is insignificant, because this is the phase where everything is being built. Your mindset, your discipline, your direction. And once those things are strong, everything else follows. Your opportunities, your results, your life. But it all starts here, with your decision to keep going, even when it's not easy, even when it feels uncertain, even when part of you wants to stop. Because the difference between the life you have now and the life you want is not luck, it's consistency, the willingness to keep moving forward, even when you don't see immediate results. And that's what you are learning now. That growth is not always visible. That progress is not always fast, but it is always happening when you don't give up. So stay with it. Stay committed. Stay focused on becoming better every single day. Not perfect, just better, because that is enough, more than enough. And as you continue, you will begin to notice something. Things will start to feel different, not all at once, but gradually. You will feel more in control, more confident in your decisions, more certain about your direction. And that feeling is proof. Proof that you are moving forward. Proof that you are not stuck anymore. Proof that everything you've been doing is starting to work. So trust that. Trust yourself. Trust your journey. Because you are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be, to become who you are meant to be. And from this moment, from this mindset, from this version of you, everything begins to rise. And as you continue on this path, there will be days where everything feels quiet again. No signs, no big progress, no clear indication that anything is changing, just silence. And in that silence, your mind will try to convince you that nothing is happening, that you're not moving forward, that all your effort isn't leading anywhere. But don't believe that, because silence is not emptiness. It is preparation. It is the phase where things are forming, beneath the surface, where your habits are getting stronger, where your mindset is becoming sharper, where your discipline is being tested and built. And just because it's not visible does not mean it's not real. This is the part most people don't understand. They expect growth to always feel exciting, to always feel rewarding. But real growth often feels quiet, repetitive, unnoticed, slow. And that's why most people stop, because they mistake quiet progress for no progress. But you're learning to stay, to keep going, even when it's not exciting, to keep showing up, even when no one sees it, to keep believing, even when there's no immediate result. And that right there, that consistency, is what changes everything. Because while others stop, you continue. While others doubt, you build. While others wait for motivation, you rely on discipline. And that difference will set you apart. Not instantly, but over time. Because time rewards consistency. It multiplies effort. It compounds small actions into big results. And one day, what felt like nothing will suddenly feel like everything. Because you'll start to see it. The results, the opportunities, the clarity. And it won't feel random. It will feel earned. Because you stayed. When it was hard, you kept going. When it was quiet, you didn't quit. When it would have been easy to. And that's why it works. So don't rush this phase. Don't try to skip it. Don't compare your progress to anyone else's. Because your journey is being built in a way that is unique to you, at a pace that is right for you. And even if it doesn't look impressive yet, it is becoming powerful, step by step, day by day. So keep going, even when it's quiet, even when it's slow, even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. You are becoming consistent. You are becoming focused. You are becoming someone who doesn't stop easily. And that person, that version of you, will reach places the old version never could. So trust this silence. Trust this phase. Trust the work you're putting in. Because sooner than you think, the quiet will turn into movement. The effort will turn into results. And everything you've been building will finally begin to show. And as you continue walking this path, something inside you becomes different in a way that's hard to explain. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. But it's real. You begin to feel steady. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer shaken by every small thing. Situations that once overwhelmed you now feel manageable. Problems that once stopped you now feel like something you can work through. And that shift, it doesn't come from luck. It comes from who you've become, because you've trained yourself to stay, to not run when things get uncomfortable, to not give up when things get slow, to not lose direction when things get uncertain. And that ability is rare, because most people only move when they feel motivated. Most people only continue when they see results. But you are learning to move without all of that. You are learning to keep going, even when it's quiet, even when no one notices, even when there is no immediate reward. And that is what builds something powerful. A mindset that doesn't depend on conditions. A discipline that doesn't disappear with emotions. A focus that stays, even when distractions appear. And once you reach that point, you become unstoppable, not in a loud, visible way, but in a quiet, consistent way. The kind of unstoppable that doesn't need attention. The kind that just keeps moving forward, no matter what. And over time, that movement creates results. Real results. Not temporary, not fragile, but strong. Because they are built on consistency, on patience, on effort that didn't stop when it was difficult. And that's what makes them last. Because anything built slowly, with intention, with discipline, becomes something that cannot be easily broken. And now, you are building that, step by step, day by day, without rushing, without forcing, just continuing. And that continuation is what separates you. Because while others are waiting for the right time, you are creating it. While others are looking for motivation, you are building habits. While others stop when things get hard, you keep going. And that difference will show. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Because consistency always reveals itself over time. And when it does, people will think it happened suddenly. They will think you got lucky. They will think it came easily. But you will know the truth. You will know the quiet days, the unseen effort, the moments where you had to push yourself without any external reward. And that's what will make it meaningful, because it's yours, fully earned, built through your persistence, built through your growth, built through your decision to not stop. So as you continue forward, don't look for validation. Don't wait for recognition. Don't depend on others to confirm your progress. Because real growth doesn't need approval. It shows itself in your mindset, in your actions, in your results over time. So stay focused, stay consistent, stay committed to becoming better every single day, not for attention, but for your future, for the life you are building, for the version of yourself that is slowly emerging. Because that version is not far away anymore. It's already forming within you, right now, through every decision you make, through every moment you choose to keep going. And one day, you will fully step into it, not by accident, but by intention, by effort, by the quiet, consistent work that you are doing right now. And when that day comes, you won't need to say anything. You won't need to prove anything, because it will be visible in how you carry yourself, in how you live, in the life you've built. And that life will reflect everything you refuse to give up on. So keep going, even in silence, even in slow progress, even when it feels like no one is watching. Because this is where it's built. This is where it becomes real. And this is where you become unstoppable. And even now, there are things happening in your life that you cannot fully see yet. Not because they're not real, but because they're still forming, still aligning, still coming together in ways that don't make complete sense right now. And that can be frustrating because you want clarity, you want answers, you want to know that everything you're doing is actually leading somewhere. But sometimes, the biggest shifts in your life happen quietly, without warning, without immediate signs. They happen beneath the surface, in your mindset, in your habits, in the way you are slowly becoming someone new. And those internal changes, they come first, before the external results, before the visible success, before the opportunities start to show. Because life always builds you first, before it gives you more. And right now, that's what's happening. You are being built. Your patience is being strengthened. Your focus is being tested. Your discipline is being developed. And even if it feels slow, it is powerful. Because once those things are solid, nothing can shake you easily. No setback will completely stop you. No delay will break your confidence. Because you will have something stronger, a stable foundation within yourself. And that foundation is what everything else will be built on. So don't rush this phase. Don't try to skip ahead. Because what you are learning right now is what will allow you to handle what comes next. And what comes next requires this version of you. A version that is patient, focused, consistent, not easily distracted, not easily discouraged. And that is exactly who you are becoming, step by step, even if you don't fully realize it yet. So trust this process. Trust the quiet growth. Trust the unseen progress. Trust the effort you're putting in every single day. Because it is not wasted. It is building something real, something lasting. And when it finally shows, it won't feel sudden. It will feel deserved. Because you stayed. You didn't quit when it was slow. You didn't stop when it was unclear. You kept moving forward, even when there was no guarantee. And that is what makes the difference. So keep going. Not with pressure, but with patience. Not with doubt, but with quiet belief. Because the shift you're waiting for is already happening. You just can't fully see it yet. But soon, you will. And when you do, you'll understand why everything had to happen this way. And somewhere along this journey, without even realizing it, you've started to rebuild something that you once lost. Trust, not in everything around you, but in yourself. Because there was a time when you doubted every decision, when you questioned every step, when you needed reassurance, just to feel okay moving forward. And that version of you did the best they could with what they knew. But now, you are different. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. You've experienced enough to know what works and what doesn't. You've made mistakes and learned from them. You've faced uncertainty and survived it. And through all of that, you've gained something powerful. Awareness. The kind of awareness that allows you to pause, to think, to choose differently. And that's where trust begins. Not in perfection, but in understanding. Understanding that you won't always get it right, but you will figure it out. Understanding that even if something goes wrong, you have the ability to handle it. Understanding that you don't need to have every answer in advance, because you can adapt along the way. And that understanding removes fear, not completely, but enough for you to move forward, enough for you to take action, without overthinking every possibility. Because now, you don't expect everything to be perfect. You just expect yourself to keep going. And that expectation is realistic. It's grounded. It allows you to grow without putting unnecessary pressure on yourself. So you move differently. You take steps with more confidence. You make decisions with more clarity. You trust your instincts more, not because they're always right, but because they are yours. And learning to trust yourself is one of the most important things you can do, because no matter where life takes you, you will always have yourself, your mindset, your ability to think, your ability to adapt. And that is enough, more than enough. So don't second guess yourself now. Not after everything you've learned. Not after all the growth you've gone through. Trust the version of you that exists today, the one who has been shaped by experience, the one who has faced challenges and kept going, because that version of you knows more than you think, knows what feels right, knows what doesn't align anymore, knows when it's time to move forward. So listen to that inner voice, not the loud one filled with doubt, but the quiet one that speaks with clarity, the one that doesn't rush, doesn't panic, but simply knows, because that voice is your direction, and the more you follow it, the stronger it becomes, the clearer it becomes, until one day, you no longer question yourself the way you used to. You simply move with confidence, with calm, with trust. And that's when everything changes, because now you are no longer dependent on external validation. You are no longer waiting for someone else to confirm your path. You are walking it your way, at your pace, with your understanding. And that is freedom, real freedom. So keep going. Keep trusting yourself, because everything you need to move forward is already within you. And as you continue walking this path, there comes a moment where you stop fighting everything, not because you've given up, not because you don't care anymore, but because you finally understand. You understand that not everything in your life was meant to go the way you planned. Not every door was meant to stay open. Not every person was meant to stay. Not every situation was meant to work out. And instead of resisting that, you accept it, not with frustration, but with clarity, because you realize every ending had a purpose. Every delay had a reason. Every challenge had something to teach you. And once you see that, you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what is this trying to teach me? And that shift, it changes everything. Because now, you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a student of your experiences. You are learning from everything, growing through everything, becoming stronger through everything. And that mindset gives you control, not control over what happens, but control over how you respond. And that is where your power is, because life will always change. Unexpected things will happen. Plans will shift. Situations will unfold in ways you didn't predict. But now, you are not thrown off by that. You remain steady. You adapt. You adjust. You keep moving forward, because you understand. Your peace does not come from everything going right. It comes from your ability to stay grounded when things go wrong. And that grounding is something you've built through patience, through awareness, through choosing not to break every time something doesn't go your way. And now, that strength is part of you. It's not something you have to think about. It's who you are becoming. And because of that, you begin to live differently. You stop forcing things that don't align. You stop chasing things that don't feel right. You stop trying to control every outcome. Instead, you move with flow, with awareness, with intention. You do what you can, and you let go of what you can't control. And that balance, it brings peace, real peace, not temporary, but lasting. because it's not based on external results. It's based on your understanding of life. And that understanding allows you to appreciate things more. The small moments, the quiet progress, the simple parts of life that you once overlooked. Because now you are present, not stuck in the past, not constantly worried about the future, but here, in this moment. And in this moment, you find something powerful, contentment, not the kind that stops you from growing, but the kind that allows you to grow without feeling incomplete, because you realize you don't need everything to be perfect to feel okay. You don't need every answer to move forward. You don't need every outcome to go your way, to trust your path. And that realization frees you from pressure, from overthinking, from constantly feeling like you need to be somewhere else, because you understand where you are right now has value. There is something here for you, something to learn, something to experience, something to become. And when you embrace that, you stop rushing, you stop comparing, you stop doubting your timing, because you know your journey is unfolding the way it needs to, not perfectly, but purposefully. So trust it. Trust where you are. Trust what you're going through. Trust the person you are becoming, because everything is leading you somewhere, somewhere that matches your growth, somewhere that aligns with your effort, somewhere that reflects who you truly are. And when you reach that place, you won't just feel successful, you will feel at peace, because you didn't just chase a result. You built yourself along the way, and that will always matter more. And as you sit with all of this, as you begin to truly understand your journey, something inside you softens, not in a weak way, but in a peaceful way. You stop rushing your life. You stop feeling like you're behind. You stop comparing your timeline to what others are doing, because you finally see there is no fixed timeline. There is only your timing, your path, your process, your pace. And once you accept that, the pressure fades. The constant feeling that you need to catch up disappears, because you realize you were never late. You were learning. You were growing. You were becoming ready for what is meant for you. And that takes time. It takes going through things. It takes understanding things. It takes becoming someone who can handle what's ahead. And now, you are that person, not perfect, but prepared. Prepared to move forward with awareness. Prepared to make better decisions. Prepared to choose what aligns with your growth. And that preparation is something you earned through patience, through experience, through not giving up when things didn't make sense. So now, instead of questioning the timing, you begin to trust it. You trust that what didn't happen before was not meant for that version of you. You trust that what is coming now is aligned with who you've become. And that trust creates calm, a deep, steady calm, because you're no longer forcing things. You're no longer chasing everything. You're no longer trying to control every outcome. You're allowing life to unfold, allowing things to come naturally, allowing yourself to grow without constant pressure. And in that space, things begin to align, not suddenly, but clearly. You start noticing the right opportunities. You start meeting the right people. You start moving in the right direction, because you are no longer distracted. You are aligned with your values, aligned with your growth, aligned with what truly matters to you. And that alignment, it simplifies everything. You don't overthink every decision. You don't chase every option. You don't say yes to things that don't feel right. You choose with clarity, with intention, with confidence in yourself. And that confidence is not loud. It doesn't need to be, because it is real. It comes from experience. It comes from growth. It comes from knowing that you've already made it through so much. So whatever comes next, you will handle it. Maybe not perfectly, but strongly. And that's enough. More than enough. So as you continue forward, don't rush what's meant to take time. Don't doubt what's meant to unfold naturally. Don't question your path just because it looks different. Because different does not mean wrong. It means yours. And your path is leading you somewhere meaningful, somewhere that matches your effort, somewhere that reflects your growth, somewhere that feels right, not just on the outside, but within you. So trust it fully, without hesitation, because everything is coming together, not all at once, but in the right way, at the right time, for the person you've become and the person you are still becoming. And as you continue forward, there comes a moment where you no longer feel the need to fight your path, not because everything is perfect, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you finally understand it. You understand that your journey was never meant to look like anyone else's. It was never meant to be fast, never meant to be simple, never meant to follow a straight line. It was meant to shape you, to challenge you, to teach you things you could not have learned any other way. And once you truly accept that, something inside you relaxes. You stop resisting where you are. You stop wishing things were different. You stop carrying the weight of how things should have been, because you realize everything happened the way it did for a reason. Not always a reason you could see at the time, but a reason that becomes clearer as you grow. So instead of holding on to frustration, you begin to let go. You let go of the past. You let go of expectations. You let go of the need to control everything. And in that letting go, you find space. Space to breathe. Space to think clearly. Space to experience your life without constant pressure. And in that space, you discover something powerful. Peace. Not the kind that comes and goes, but the kind that stays. Because it is not dependent on your circumstances. It is built within you, through your understanding, through your growth, through your willingness to accept things as they are, while still moving forward. And that balance, it changes how you live. You no longer rush through your days. You no longer feel like you're chasing something that is always just out of reach. Instead, you move with calm, with intention, with awareness of what truly matters. You focus on what you can control. You release what you cannot. And that simplicity, it brings clarity. You see your path more clearly. You understand your priorities more deeply. You make decisions that align with who you truly are. Because now, you are not living based on pressure. You are living based on truth. Your truth. And living in that truth. It feels different. It feels honest. It feels grounded. It feels right. Even if everything is not perfect. Even if you don't have every answer. Because you understand. You don't need all the answers. You just need to stay aligned. Aligned with your growth. Aligned with your values. Aligned with the person you are becoming. And as long as you stay aligned, you will continue to move forward. Naturally. Without forcing. Without constantly questioning yourself. Because you trust the process now. You trust that everything is unfolding the way it needs to. Even when it's slow. Even when it's unclear. And that trust, it removes fear. Not completely, but enough. Enough for you to keep going. Without hesitation. Enough for you to take steps without needing perfect certainty. Because you know, whatever comes next, you will handle it. You've already proven that to yourself. Through everything you've faced, through everything you've overcome. So now, you move differently, with quiet confidence. Not loud, not needing attention, just steady, grounded in who you are. And that steadiness, it becomes your strength. The kind of strength that doesn't break easily, the kind that remains, even when life becomes unpredictable. And as you continue living this way, you begin to experience something deeper, fulfillment, not from external achievements alone, but from how you live your life, from the way you grow, from the way you stay true to yourself, from the way you keep moving forward, without losing your peace. And that fulfillment is what makes everything meaningful. Because it's not just about reaching a destination. It's about who you become along the way. And who you are becoming is someone who understands life. Not perfectly, but deeply. Someone who can face challenges without losing direction. Someone who can experience success without losing humility. Someone who can continue growing without feeling incomplete. And that is where everything comes together, not in perfection, but in balance. A life where you are still growing, still learning, still evolving, but at the same time, at peace with where you are, with who you are, with the journey you are on. And from that place, you don't just live your life, you experience it fully. And as you continue forward, there comes a moment where you no longer measure your life by how it looks to others, not by achievements alone, not by how fast you're moving, not by how much you have compared to someone else, but by how it feels. And that shift is powerful because for so long, you may have chased things that didn't truly align with you, things that looked right on the outside, but didn't feel right within. And now, you see the difference. You understand that a life that looks good is not always a life that feels good. And what truly matters is how you feel when you wake up, how you feel when you move through your day, how you feel when you sit with yourself in silence. Because that is your real life. Not the image, not the appearance, but the experience. And now, you are choosing to build an experience that feels right. Not perfect, but real, honest, meaningful, aligned with who you are. And that alignment changes everything. You stop forcing things that don't fit. You stop chasing things that don't fulfill you. You stop saying yes to things that take away your peace. Instead, you choose differently. You choose what adds value. You choose what brings growth. You choose what feels true to you, even if it's not popular, even if it's not understood by everyone. Because you are no longer living for approval. You are living with intention, and that intention creates a life that feels stable, not because nothing goes wrong, but because you are grounded, grounded in your values, grounded in your mindset, grounded in your understanding of what truly matters. And from that place, you begin to create something deeper, not just a life, but a legacy, not necessarily something the world will always see, but something real, a way of living, a way of thinking, a way of showing up that reflects growth, awareness, and strength. Because legacy is not only about what you leave behind. It's about how you live right now, how you treat people, how you handle challenges, how you continue to grow, even when no one is watching. And that kind of living, it leaves an impact, not always loudly, but meaningfully, because people feel it. They feel your presence. They feel your calm. They feel your authenticity. And that matters, because in a world full of noise, being real is powerful, being grounded is rare, being at peace with yourself is something not everyone reaches. But you are moving toward that, step by step. And as you do, you begin to understand something deeper. Success is not just about achieving something. It's about becoming someone who can carry peace, someone who can stay grounded, someone who can handle both highs and lows without losing themselves. And that is true success, because it lasts. It doesn't disappear. When circumstances change, it stays with you through every phase of your life. So as you continue forward, keep choosing what feels right. Keep building a life that aligns with you. Keep growing into someone who values peace, clarity, and purpose. Because at the end of everything, that is what matters most. Not how fast you moved, not how much you had, but how you lived, how you felt, how you grew, and how you stayed true to yourself through it all. And if you can do that, if you can live in alignment with who you truly are, then you are already living a life that is meaningful, a life that is complete, a life that doesn't need to be compared, because it is yours, and yours alone. And as you move forward, you begin to notice something quietly changing within you. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself to everyone, not your worth, not your progress, not your journey, because you understand now. The people who are meant to see you will see you, and the people who don't were never meant to understand your path. And that's okay. You don't need validation to confirm your growth. You don't need approval to continue your journey, because you've already seen your progress. You felt it in the way you think, in the way you respond, in the way you handle things that once used to break you. And that's enough, more than enough. So you stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking constant recognition. You stop trying to make everyone understand. Instead, you focus on yourself, on your growth, on your peace, on the life you are building quietly. And that quiet focus, it becomes powerful, because while others are distracted, you are consistent. While others are comparing, you are improving. While others are waiting, you are becoming. And that difference will show, not immediately, but over time, because real growth doesn't need attention. It reveals itself in your results, in your mindset, in the way your life begins to change. So keep going, keep building, keep growing in silence if you have to, because not everything needs to be shared. Some things are meant to be protected. Your vision, your progress, your peace. And the more you protect those things, the stronger they become. So trust yourself, trust your journey, and remember, you don't need to prove anything anymore. You just need to keep becoming. And as you keep moving forward, there comes a point where the biggest change in your life is no longer external. It's internal. It's the way you think, the way you respond, the way you carry yourself through every situation, because you begin to realize life is not about controlling everything around you. It's about mastering what's within you, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions. And that mastery, it doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small moments. Moments where you choose patience instead of reacting. Moments where you stay calm instead of losing control. Moments where you think clearly instead of letting emotions take over. And those moments, they build something powerful. Self-control, not in a restrictive way, but in a freeing way. Because when you can control yourself, you are no longer controlled by everything else. Situations don't shake you the same way. People don't affect you the same way. Unexpected challenges don't break you the same way. Because you are steady, grounded, aware, and that awareness, it becomes your strength. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be loud. The kind that doesn't need to prove anything. Because it's real. It's built from experience, from growth, from choosing to become better, even when it was difficult. And as you continue developing that strength, you begin to notice something even deeper. You are no longer reacting to life. You are responding to it. There is a difference. Reacting is automatic. It's driven by habits, emotions, and past patterns. But responding is intentional. It's thoughtful. It's aligned with who you are becoming. And when you start responding instead of reacting, your entire life changes. Your decisions become better. Your relationships become healthier. Your mindset becomes clearer. Because you are no longer controlled by impulse. You are guided by awareness. And that awareness, it gives you power. The power to choose your direction. The power to stay focused. The power to move forward without being constantly pulled off track. And that's when you realize true growth is not just about changing your life. It's about changing how you live it, how you think, how you act, how you handle everything that comes your way. Because once those things change, everything else follows. Naturally, without force, without constant struggle, because you are aligned with your values, aligned with your purpose, aligned with the person you are becoming. And that alignment creates peace, a deep, lasting peace, not because everything is perfect, but because you are in control of yourself. You are not easily shaken. You are not easily distracted. You are not easily pulled back into old patterns. Because you've outgrown them. You've learned from them. You've moved beyond them. And now, you are building something new. A life that reflects your growth. A life that reflects your awareness. A life that reflects your discipline. And that life, it doesn't need to be loud. It doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be real. Real in how it feels. Real in how it aligns with you. Real in the peace it brings you every day. Because at the end of everything, that is what matters. Not just what you achieve, but who you become. And who you are becoming is someone who understands life. Someone who moves with purpose. Someone who stays grounded, no matter what happens. And that is where true strength lies. So keep going. Keep growing. Keep choosing awareness over reaction. Keep choosing discipline over distraction. Because every choice you make now is shaping the life you will live tomorrow. And that life is being built by you. Right now, in this moment, with every decision you make. So make it count. Stay aligned. Stay focused. Stay committed to becoming your best self. Because that journey is what creates everything else. And as you continue to grow, there comes a moment where you stop searching, not because there is nothing left to find, but because you finally understand something deeper. Everything you were searching for was never outside of you. It was always being built within you. The strength you needed, the clarity you were waiting for, the peace you thought you would find later. It was all developing inside you, through every experience. And now, you begin to feel it, not as excitement, not as something overwhelming, but as calm, a quiet, steady calm that stays with you, because you are no longer chasing something that feels out of reach. You are becoming it. You are becoming the clarity. You are becoming the strength. You are becoming the peace. And that shift, It changes how you live your life. You don't wake up feeling like something is missing. You don't move through your day trying to fill a gap within yourself, because that gap is no longer there. You have filled it with understanding, with growth, with acceptance of who you are and where you are. And from that place, you begin to live differently. You move with intention, not because you have to prove something, but because it feels right. You make decisions with clarity. You speak with honesty. You act with purpose, because everything you do now comes from alignment. Alignment with your values, alignment with your mindset, alignment with the person you have become. And that alignment creates a life that feels stable, not because nothing goes wrong, but because you are not shaken easily. You don't lose yourself in every difficult moment. You don't get pulled in every direction. You remain centered, and that center becomes your power, a power that doesn't need recognition, a power that doesn't depend on outcomes, a power that simply exists because of who you are. And as you continue to live from that place, you begin to understand something even deeper. You don't need everything. You don't need constant validation. You don't need endless achievements. You don't need to be everywhere or do everything. You only need what truly matters. And once you realize that, life becomes simpler, clearer, more meaningful, because you are no longer distracted by things that don't add value. You are focused on what truly matters: your growth, your peace, your purpose. And that focus, it creates depth, a depth in your life that goes beyond surface-level success, a depth that is felt in how you experience your days, in how you connect with people, in how you understand yourself. And that depth is what brings fulfillment, not temporary happiness, but lasting meaning. Because now, you are not just living life, you are experiencing it fully, consciously, with awareness of every moment. And that awareness transforms everything. You notice the small things. You appreciate the quiet moments. You value the simple parts of life that you once overlooked, because you understand life is not made up of big moments alone. It is built from the small ones, the everyday moments, the quiet progress, the subtle growth. And those moments, they become meaningful because you are present for them. And being present is something you have learned through everything you've been through every moment that forced you to slow down, to reflect, to understand. And now, you carry that awareness with you everywhere. So as you continue forward, you are no longer searching for your life. You are living it. You are shaping it. You are experiencing it in a way that feels right, in a way that feels true. And that truth is what gives your life meaning, not what others expect, not what the world defines as success, but what feels aligned within you. So keep living that way. Keep choosing what feels real. Keep building a life that reflects who you are. Because in the end, that is what remains. Not what you had, not what you achieved,